There's something your dentist sees every single time you open your mouth, and most of the time they don't tell you the full story about it. Your gums are pulling back. Maybe you've noticed it yourself. Your teeth look longer than they used to. Maybe you brush a certain spot and feel that sharp electric sensitivity when the cold water hits it. Maybe you've looked in the mirror under a bright light and thought, wait, that wasn't like that a year ago. And you're right, it wasn't. Here's the number that stopped me when I first came across it. 70%. That's how many adults over 65 have some form of periodontal disease, gum disease, according to data published in the Journal of Dental Research. 70%. That's not a minority, that's most people in the room, and almost 88% of people over 65 have some measurable degree of gum recession. 88%. So if you're watching this and you're over 60 and your gums have been quietly retreating, you're not imagining it, and you're not alone. But here's what I actually want to talk to you about today. Because this isn't a video about feeling bad about your teeth. This is a video about what you can actually do about it. Starting tonight, stay with me, because there's something about how this mixture works that genuinely surprised me when I looked at the research, and there's a connection between your gums and the rest of your body that most people have never been told, and that honestly changes everything about why this matters. Before I tell you what the mixture is, I want to tell you something that most videos on this topic skip, something that will actually make this whole thing make more sense. Most people think receding gums is a dental hygiene problem. Like if you just brushed better, flossed more, used the right mouthwash, it would stop happening. And so they brush harder. They buy the expensive electric toothbrush. They use the alcohol mouthwash twice a day, and the gums keep going. Here's why. They're treating the wrong thing. Receding gums is not primarily a hygiene problem. It's an inflammation problem, driven by a very specific bacterial infection that has been quietly running in the gum tissue, sometimes for years, without causing any pain. No alarm bells, just this slow, relentless retreat of tissue that you only notice when the damage has already accumulated. The reason this matters is because inflammation and bacterial infection are things you can actually address, not with a toothbrush. With chemistry, with compounds that the research now shows can change the bacterial environment in your mouth and calm the tissue that's been inflamed for years. That's what this mixture does, and once you understand the mechanism, everything else makes sense. So what's actually happening inside your mouth right now? Your mouth is home to somewhere between 500 and 700 different species of bacteria. Most of them are fine. They're part of a balanced ecosystem called the oral microbiome. The problems start when that balance breaks down. When certain bacteria, the harmful ones, the anaerobic ones that thrive in low oxygen environments near the gum line, start to dominate, they form what's called a biofilm. You know it as plaque, but biofilm is the more accurate word, because it describes what it really is, an organized community of bacteria that builds walls, shares resources, and protects its members from attack. Think of it like a neighborhood, a very well-defended neighborhood. That's why brushing alone can't touch it. You can't sweep away a neighborhood with a toothbrush. It takes something that can get inside the structure and disrupt it from within. These bacteria produce toxins. The toxins trigger your immune system. Your immune system sends inflammatory signals to the gum tissue. The gum tissue swells, bleeds, and slowly loses its attachment to the tooth. Over years and decades, it retreats. And here is where I need to tell you something that changes the entire picture. Those bacteria, the ones living in the biofilm at your gum line, they enter your bloodstream. Every time you eat, every time you swallow, every time those irritated gum tissues have the tiniest microscopic opening, they go in, and once they're in, they travel. Research has documented that periodontal disease increases the risk of cardiovascular disease by 19% in the general adult population. But among adults over 65 specifically, that increased cardiovascular risk reaches 44%. I want you to actually sit with that number for a second. Not 19, 44. That's nearly half. For people in your age group specifically. And most cardiologists never ask their patients about their gums. Most dentists never ask about heart health. The two specialties operate in separate rooms, in separate buildings, treating what they assume are separate problems. They're not. And there's more. Studies have found associations between the same periodontal bacteria and cognitive decline. Those specific bacteria have been detected in the brain tissue of Alzheimer's patients in autopsy research. That is not a proven causal link. I want to be careful and precise here, but it is a documented and actively investigated association that is changing how researchers think about brain health. Your gums, your heart, your brain, the same bacteria, the same inflammatory fire spreading from the same source. So when I say this oil mixture matters starting tonight, I mean it matters for more than your smile. Now, before I get to the oils, there's one more thing you need to know, and this one is a little uncomfortable. Your toothpaste might be making this worse. Most commercial toothpastes contain harsh chemicals, the ones that make toothpaste foam and heavy-duty antibacterial agents. Check the back of your toothpaste tube sometime. You'll find them there. The intention behind those ingredients is good, kill bacteria. But the problem is they don't discriminate. They kill the harmful bacteria and the beneficial bacteria in exactly the same sweep. Your oral microbiome, the balanced ecosystem we just talked about, depends on the good bacteria being present to compete with and suppress the bad ones. When you strip the entire ecosystem twice a day, every day, you're essentially clearing the forest so the most aggressive species can take over unchallenged. This is why a lot of people brush carefully every single day and still have progressive gum problems. It's not a discipline failure, it's a chemistry problem. You're using the wrong tool for the actual enemy. The oils work completely differently. They don't strip your ecosystem. They selectively target the pathogenic bacteria while preserving the beneficial microbial balance. And this isn't new knowledge, by the way. Oil pulling, the practice of swishing oil in the mouth for oral health, has been documented in Ayurvedic medicine for over 3,000 years. What's new is that we now have peer-reviewed clinical trials explaining exactly why it works at the molecular level. Now I know what some of you are thinking right now. Coconut oil? That's it? My dentist charges $300 a visit, and the answer is something from the grocery store. I hear you. I had the same reaction when I first came across this. But the research doesn't care how expensive something is. It cares whether it works. And on this one, the data is genuinely hard to ignore. Here's the mixture. 3 oils, each one doing something distinct. And if you want to know exactly which brands and where to find them, I've listed everything in the first comment below this video, so you don't have to search around. Oil number 1, coconut oil. In a clinical study on patients with diagnosed gingivitis, participants who used coconut oil as a daily mouthwash for 30 days showed a reduction in the plaque index from 58 down to 19, a 67% drop. The bleeding index fell from 33.5 down to 5. Both results were statistically significant in a peer-reviewed study. Now, why does this happen? Coconut oil is about 92% medium-chain fatty acids. The main one is lauric acid. When lauric acid meets the naturally alkaline compounds in your saliva, it forms a substance similar to a very gentle soap, a surfactant that coats the bacteria physically, disrupts their outer membranes, and most importantly prevents them from adhering to your tooth and gum surfaces. No adhesion, no biofilm, no fortress. But here's what makes it different from conventional mouthwash. It does this without scorching the beneficial bacteria underneath. It's physically selective in a way that alcohol simply isn't. A triple-blind randomized clinical trial published in 2025 on periodontitis patients went further and actually measured the chemical signals your body releases when tissue is under attack. Those numbers went down measurably in the coconut oil group. The tissue stopped being in emergency mode, not just cleaner teeth on the surface, actually calmer tissue at the cellular level. Oil number 2, tea tree oil. A randomized double-blind clinical trial compared tea tree oil mouthwash to a placebo and found that tea tree oil significantly reduced gum bleeding and inflammation, with the anti-inflammatory effect confirmed to be stronger than several commercially available mouthwashes. Tea tree oil has a specific active compound in it. I'll spare you the pronunciation, but what it does is straightforward. It punches through the outer membrane of the bacteria that live in the deep pockets under your gum line, the ones your toothbrush literally cannot reach. Porphyromonas gingivalis, that's one of the main culprits in serious periodontal damage. Tea tree oil specifically targets it. Coconut oil works on the biofilm you can see. Tea tree oil reaches deeper into the pockets where the most destructive activity happens. That's why you need both, not just one. One thing to remember, tea tree oil is potent. You use it in drops, never teaspoons, and you never swallow it. Oil number 3, clove oil. Clove oil contains a compound called eugenol. If you've ever had a dental procedure where the dentist applied something to numb the tissue before an injection, there's a good chance eugenol was involved. It's used in professional dentistry specifically because of its properties. So when people say this mixture is something dentists don't know about, well, one of the main ingredients is actually something they use in their own practice. That always makes me smile. Pharmacologically, eugenol blocks 2 specific enzymes, the ones that drive the inflammatory cascade in gum tissue, not mask the inflammation, actually interrupt the chemical process that creates it at the source. A double-blind randomized clinical trial on 40 patients using a mouth rinse containing clove oil alongside tea tree oil showed significant reduction in bacterial load at 21 days. And beyond the antimicrobial effect, Eugenol soothes. It has genuine analgesic properties. You feel it the moment the oil mixture touches irritated gum tissue. Look, I'd rather lose a viewer by being honest than keep one by telling them what they want to hear. So here's the truth. This mixture is not a replacement for professional dental care. If your gum disease has progressed to a stage where a periodontist needs to be involved, some cases need clinical intervention, deep scaling, root planing, in severe situations a graft procedure. If your dentist has told you that you're past the early stages, listen to them. What this is, and what the research genuinely supports, is a powerful daily tool for managing the bacterial environment and inflammation that drive the disease forward. Think of it this way. Your dentist removes the hardened tartar buildup during your cleaning appointments. This mixture handles the daily bacterial management in between those appointments. They're not competing, they work together. And a lot of people find that when they start this protocol, their professional cleanings become noticeably easier because there's simply less buildup for the hygienist to deal with. The protocol, simple. The only thing that kills results here is inconsistency. In a small glass, combine 2 tablespoons of virgin coconut oil with 2 drops of tea tree oil and 2 drops of clove oil. Stir for 30 seconds until the drops are fully incorporated. When you put it in your mouth, the first thing you'll notice is the warmth from the clove. It's not uncomfortable, it's actually kind of reassuring. Like your gums are finally getting attention they've been waiting for. Don't swish hard like you're using mouthwash. The motion is slow and deliberate, gentle. You're pushing and pulling the oil between your teeth along the gum line, letting it contact every surface. The oil gradually emulsifies as it mixes with your saliva, and in doing so it draws bacteria and their byproducts into itself, essentially trapping them so they leave your mouth when you spit. 10 minutes. That's the threshold where the emulsification becomes meaningful. Less than 10 minutes, and you haven't given the oil enough time to do the real work. Put on a podcast, check your messages, whatever makes 10 minutes feel shorter. Morning, on an empty stomach, is ideal. Your bacterial load peaks overnight while you sleep. You've been lying horizontal for 7 or 8 hours with reduced saliva flow. Saliva is your mouth's natural defense mechanism, and the bacteria have had hours of low competition time to organize. Morning is when you have the most to disrupt. After 10 minutes, spit into a trash can, not the sink. Solidified coconut oil will clog your pipes over weeks of daily use. Rinse with warm water, then brush normally. Here's what the timeline actually looks like in 3 clear phases. Phase 1, the first week. Most people notice their gums bleed less when they brush, sometimes within the first few days. This is the most immediate signal that something is changing. The inflammation is retreating. The tissue is becoming less reactive. Phase 2, week 2. Gums often look different, more defined, less puffy. This is not new tissue growing back. I want to be precise about that. This is what happens when swollen, chronically inflamed tissue finally calms down. Inflamed tissue is expanded. When the inflammation recedes, the gums look more attached and healthier. A lot of people describe this as the moment they actually believe something is working. Phase 3, week 4 onward. This is stabilization. Sensitivity to cold and hot often decreases. You are building a genuinely different bacterial ecosystem in your mouth, one where the harmful species no longer dominate because the conditions that allowed them to take over have been dismantled. One quality note before you buy anything. For the coconut oil, you want unrefined virgin coconut oil, the kind that smells faintly of coconut. Refined coconut oil has had many of its beneficial compounds processed out. For the essential oils, buy small bottles from reputable suppliers. Large, cheap bottles sold in bulk are frequently diluted. The active compounds are what you're paying for. Again, the exact products are in the first comment below. 70% of people over 65, and for most of them it's been progressing quietly for years. Because early gum disease doesn't hurt. It doesn't announce itself. It just moves. Silently. And by the time you notice the teeth looking longer in the mirror, by the time the cold water starts bothering you, by the time your dentist says the word recession, it's already been happening for a while. But here's what you now understand that most people don't. The bacterial infection, the inflammation, the daily progression, that can be stopped. And when it stops, your body's immune resources, which have been locked in a losing daily battle against a chronic infection, can finally redirect toward actually maintaining and protecting the flow tissue that remains. And beyond your mouth, the cardiovascular risk that climbs to 44% in your age group because of this specific treatable infection, the inflammatory load that receding gums adds to a system that after 60 is already managing more than it was designed to handle long-term. Your mouth is not separate from the rest of you. It never was. You've been brushing your teeth your whole life. Tonight, try something different. 10 minutes. That's all this asks of you. And if it works and the research says it should, you'll know within a week. If this connected some dots that your dental appointments haven't, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Most people dealing with receding gums think it's cosmetic, or inevitable, or just another thing that happens when you get older. It's none of those things, it's inflammation. And inflammation is something you can address.